Hey there fellow creators, Ben here from Cinder Studios, and this week it's time for another product review. Today we're looking at Liquitex's recycled canvas. Stick around. So around last spring, Liquitex came out with this interesting product. It is recycled canvas. Not so much recycled canvas as we know it, like take all the old bits and scraps of canvas. No, this canvas is made out of 3 recycled plastic bottles. This isn't cotton canvas. This isn't linen. This is plastic bottle weaved canvas. Which when I first saw this, I was like, I don't know if that's possible. But Liquitex claims that this stuff performs just as well as regular cotton duck canvas for both oil and acrylic painting. So today, we're going to find out if that's actually true. So per the description on the back of this stuff, it says, this canvas cloth is made with 100% recycled plastic bottles and is fastened to FSC certified wood, suitable for both acrylic and oil paintings. This high-quality surface has been tested by professional artists within our lab, so you can create with confidence while reducing your impact on the environment. Now, some time ago, I released a video called Art Isn't Eco-Friendly, where I addressed a number of problems with art supplies in general, because of how limited sustainability options are for both in creating them and as in terms of things like disposing your empty paint tubes. So this is actually really interesting because it takes that idea of art isn't eco-friendly and tries to solve it. So that's mostly why this caught my attention, but also it's like that seems weird. How do you make canvas out of bottles? I can tell you that just feeling it through the plastic packaging, it feels like canvas. If you didn't otherwise tell me that this wasn't regular cotton canvas, with the exception of the back of it also being white, in addition to the front, I probably would be like, yeah, this just feels like canvas, so what's the big deal? So, yeah, it totally feels just like regular, medium texture canvas. I'm actually kind of surprised on that. Hey, they gave me some keys, which I'm not going to use for this piece, but I'm definitely going to save. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a painting on this, and as I'm working on it, I'll throw the piece into time-lapse and give you some working notes and thoughts on the process as a whole as I'm working. So I decided to go with sort of my average, regular test piece, which is a nice, simple orange, glowy sunset with a little bit of pine tree silhouette going on. I took it a step further and added a waterfall and a river and a few other elements so it's a little bit more complete of a piece. But I figured this was a good test for the product because it utilizes, a painting like this utilizes a lot of different techniques. Just starting out with my paint marker and the first few brush strokes, I found that the canvas itself was very, very smooth. Just kind of paint glided right across the top of the surface, which felt really nice. As I'd expect out of any kind of high quality, well-prepared canvas. As I worked a little bit more though, I found that the texture was almost smoother than I was expecting it to be. Now, I know a lot of people like a really smooth canvas. I personally like a little bit more texture with my canvases. So for this, actually, as I was working, I started to realize that it felt a lot, almost like cardboard, like just painting on cardboard. It had that kind of texture. It still felt like canvas, but it definitely had a little bit more of a spread that I'd expect out of like corrugated cardboard. Other than that, I was honestly kind of surprised here. Like it was performing for a long time very much like regular canvas would. About 20 minutes into the painting, I was like, okay, this is just whatever. It's just canvas. It wasn't overly remarkable in any way, but it certainly performed as advertised, that it is working perfectly well for my acrylics as any other canvas would. Now that was to say until I noticed something a little odd, and I don't know if this was strictly my canvas in particular or if this is the case for all of these recycled canvases, but immediately upon finishing sort of the sky and getting into the trees, I started to notice the canvas begin to warp. I was like, whoa, wait a second. I got down on, I crouched down, I turned the canvas, I looked at it from the side. I couldn't quite see it, and it wasn't 100% visually there, but as soon as I took brush to canvas, I could feel it. I ended up recording this segment on my phone because I didn't want to disturb where the camera was positioned. This is probably almost impossible to see, but there's actually a little bit of a bow happening right here and a little bit of a sag on this side. It's kind of arced up and over. Not really noticeable, but at least visually, but I could tell immediately when I was working with the brush that this was higher and this was lower all of a sudden. Now, as the paint began to dry on the canvas, I actually noticed that that warp became a little bit more pronounced. It's still minimal, and I would say, like, at a distance, as the viewer, it's not really noticeable, but working on it, it was like, whoa, this is not okay. Again, I don't know if this was just maybe a defect with the one I got, but seeing that level of bending and warping happening to the canvas itself, especially which is supposed to be a nice, you know, gallery wrapped or gallery profile, deep edged canvas, I was just really, really surprised by the fact that it was starting to do that. Now, I would say that I don't know if this is an issue with the canvas being maybe a little bit thinner, which from what I can tell isn't really the case. Maybe it is like slightly thinner than regular medium texture canvas, but I think that's more of a negligible difference. But I had to think back to the last time I had a canvas begin to show signs of distortion, and I think it was when I was using a lot thinner, cheaper canvases when I first started painting. That usually happens with a lower quality canvas and something that's relatively cheap. What's interesting is that this canvas does seem to be fairly high quality, and it definitely wasn't cheap. So that was kind of like a, whoa, what's going on here kind of moment. Other than that, I honestly found it completely indistinguishable from a regular medium texture cotton duck canvas. I really wish I had a little bit more to say about this, but honestly, it worked and performed with the exception of a little bit of a distortion, exactly how I'd expect canvas to work. So, kudos to Liquitex for being able to produce something with plastic bottles that actually performs as advertised. Not that I didn't think that they would lie in their advertisements, but it didn't seem possible to me at the time. So now that the piece has had a little bit more time to dry, I definitely can see that warp. It dips in and comes up. It's not huge. I could probably fix it with a little bit of keying, and since it did come with keys, it's certainly capable of that. But there is, again, a noticeable little bit of warping, which just flat out shouldn't happen on a canvas of this depth and profile, as well as this supposed quality. So what are the pros and cons of the Liquitex recycled canvas? Well, as mentioned throughout the course of painting this, I really was surprised that it was absolutely 100% exactly the same as painting on a regular canvas. As advertised, it works perfectly for at least acrylic. I didn't test oils, obviously. I didn't have the time for that this week. But it works exactly like you'd expect canvas to work. And it's made from recycled plastic, which is really cool. In addition to a lot of the little rectangle sizes and standard squares and stuff like that, this canvas actually does, they do sell a loose roll of it, so if you want to stretch it yourself on a much bigger surface, you absolutely can. And the other good thing about this is that it's a recycled, sustainable product. A lot of artists will complain about this and I don't want to use that because of deforestation or use of cotton and over farming and varying things like that. But this solves technically two problems: one, overconsumption of materials, and two, the overabundance of plastic in our landfills and oceans. So, props to Liquitex for taking that stride and showing the world that we can do more than just what we've done for hundreds of years. On the downside, though, I kind of feel like these outweigh any pros that already exist. So obviously, as I was testing, I found that little bit of a warping to happen. I don't know if that's the case across all of the recycled canvas, but it definitely happened with mine, which is really disappointing. And while we did mention as a pro it works just like regular canvas, well, that's also kind of a con because it doesn't bring any new value to the table. If it works exactly the same as something that already exists, while, yeah, it's a comparable product, but it doesn't do anything different. And here's the other con: it doesn't do anything different for less money. This little 8x10 canvas, depending on where you look, is at least double the price of a comparable 8x10 regular medium texture cotton canvas. It's more expensive by quite a lot. I think the price has actually come down a little bit since I first bought this a couple of months ago, which is good, but you're kind of paying the premium to get something that is recycled, and that is kind of the opposite of what needs to happen right now. I think at this point the demand is starting to increase for this, but the problem is the supply isn't there, and because the supply isn't there, the price is up there. So for the same price, you can actually get a better performing canvas for less money, and for that reason, I really don't think I can recommend this. So while I do think that Liquitex's recycled canvas is an important step forward, not only in, recycling and conservation and being more eco-conscious with our art, I can't really recommend it. It's too expensive for what it is, and honestly, as an artist, there are better options out there for less money, and I think that is really the core takeaway here. It's a fun novelty right now, and it's an important idea to push us into new directions in the future, but as is, it's just not worth it. But what about you guys? Have you actually managed to get your hand on some of this stuff and tried it for yourself? And if so, did I miss something here, or is it really just that overpriced? Or if you have never heard of this product before, honestly, give it a try for yourself. Personally, I don't think it's worth it, but hey, maybe you have a much better track record and find something I didn't, and something more useful out of it that I didn't. Also, if you have a better budget, maybe this is a good option for you to, make the conscious effort to, do your part to save the planet. But I don't know. I don't think it's there. At least not for me. Whatever your thoughts on this topic, though, or this product, let me know your thoughts in comments below. Get subscribed if you're not already. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this and/or learned something. All of my socials, including the community Discord, are available as well in the description box. I think I may have already said that. Thanks, guys, for watching. Keep on creating, and I will see you guys next time. I mean, it's a nice little painting, but I don't know. It wasn't worth $18. The canvas, not the painting, obviously.